How's it going, everybody? Welcome back. Hope you had a great holiday season and a great new year. It's 2024 now, and I just wanted to start off the year by going over some of these photos that I got in 2023 and just kind of showing what my favorites are and what I like about them, and then kind of talking about what my goals are for 2024 and talk about some of the things that I want to try to achieve and do as far as photography goes, and as far as it getting better and improving my craft. Before we begin, I do have a little bit of a new setup here. I was gifted a cool ultra wide monitor for Christmas from my wife, and so now I'm running everything off of my MacBook M1 Pro, and really great setup. I love this monitor. I love the colors in it. I love how crispy it is, and it's just a cool setup. Got a new keyboard and stuff too. Forgive me if there's some technical difficulties, mainly particularly with the microphone. I need to kind of work out some of the kinks here, but let me know what you think about the new setup. Anyways, we're going to jump into this. So I've got 16 photos here that I took this last year, and I want to talk about what I like about them and kind of why they're my favorite. And, there's some of them that are going to have some points that I want to improve on for next year. So we'll talk about those when we get there. Okay, so first let's start with this cool image that I got at the beginning of the year. This was in January last year. If you watch the channel, you'll remember the video that we did where we did that photo challenge. We took a bunch of guys out and we did a little hike in the snow, took a bunch of photos. This was, I believe, one of the last photos that I took of that little hike. And I got down, walked into the river, and was able to get this cool composition with this waterfall and the bridge and all the snow. This was such a cool morning. And I feel like this photo really shows just how calm and, I don't know, it was just a neat morning, and I really like this composition. I like the edit on it. I feel like the exposure time in the water works really well as well. I like the shape that's made from the waterfall with that bridge, and I feel like it's a close to a perfect photo in my opinion. It's nothing crazy, but I really like it. I like the feeling that it gives me when I look at it, and yeah, it's one of my favorites. So next up, we've got a photo that I took back in February. And this is a top-down image of some crazy-looking hills down in southern Utah. We went on a trip down there, and towards the end of the trip, Luke and I were driving through some cool areas, just kind of scouting things out. And at one point, we put our drones up and we're trying to get some cool, abstract stuff. And I was able to capture this. And to me, this looks like, I don't know, some kind of like a snake head, or I don't know. There's a face in here. I don't know if it's a snake or a frog or what, some kind of a lizard. I have no idea, but these little hills, these two little dots in here kind of look like eyeballs to me. So I just think it's really cool, and it's kind of my introduction, I guess, to abstract stuff. I'd kind of tried it beforehand, but I never really done a good job with it, and so this was the first time that I really tried to embrace it and really try to get into doing abstract stuff, which is something that I did a lot of this year. So this is kind of my first attempt at that. I love the composition. I love all the patterns. I love the colors. It's just a cool, got all these grays mixed with blues and reds and oranges and pinks and purples. It's a really colorful image, and I think all the lines are really cool. I don't know. It's just an interesting photo, and I think it's cool. So next up, we've got this photo that I got, again, down in southern Utah. A lot of these photos are going to be from southern Utah, but this is a Milky Way photo that I got on a trip in April. I met up with a bunch of friends down there. This was also the first photo trip that I ever went on with my now wife. So I guess that makes it kind of a sentimental photo, but this was kind of a tricky process for shooting. It was a full moon that night, so by the time the moon had set, we had maybe 45 minutes to be able to shoot the Milky Way before the sun came up, and you can even see the sun starting to come up on the left side of the frame there. But I shot this. I got one exposure. I couldn't get my lens to focus. I had all these problems, and I got one exposure to the Milky Way. Ended up being this one, and then I waited 25 minutes, waited for that foreground to brighten up, and shot a photo. And I think those were the only two photos that I got of the entire trip, and they were meant to be for one photo. So, but I love this photo. I think it turned out really, really cool. It's one of the only Milky Way photos that I got this year. And it ended up cooler than I was anticipating. So I wasn't anticipating getting anything that looked this good. All right, so next I have a couple photos from Bryce Canyon. So I have two of them from Bryce Canyon. I spent 2 days there back in August. I shot a sunset there and then I shot sunrise. And the first shot that I have here is from sunset. So I like this photo of, it's a photo of Thor's hammer. I really like the composition. I like how Thor's hammer is kind of sticking up over the horizon. I like how the colors work together in this photo. I like the blues and how they work with the oranges. And I think there's a lot of depth to this photo, which is really cool. You kind of get that hazy valley in the background. I think the only thing that I would change on this, and this is just moving forward into 2024, and I still like the photo regardless, but this is one thing that I would do differently now, is I feel like it's a little too sharpened. I think I went a little too overboard with the sharpening, and I want to try to tone that down a little bit for some of these photos in 2024. So I also don't love that it's a little maybe too dark on the bottom left corner. I think it works for this photo, but I don't know, maybe if I were to re-edit it, maybe I'd play with that a little bit more, just play with those shadow areas a little bit, particularly on that left side. And like I said, I think it works, but maybe try and play with that a little bit more in the future. But really like this photo, one of my favorites. Next is a shot from that next following sunrise. I had gotten up in the morning to shoot this. We had great sunrise conditions, and you don't see it as much in this photo, but like the clouds that we got that morning were fantastic. By the time the sun came out, for this photo, those clouds had kind of lost a little bit of their color. But for this one, I was really more aiming for that sun star, one of the sun in the photo with those flares. I like the composition. It's pretty general. It's nothing too crazy, but I generally like how this turned out. I think it might be a little too purpley, actually. And maybe it's just the lighting that I'm sitting in right now. But I think moving forward, if I were to redo this photo, just to critique myself, I have some blown out highlights just above where the sun is. And I would go through now and I would, kind of fade those in a little bit better, get rid of those blown out highlights. I don't like, there's a lot of people who kind of make arguments for having blown out highlights in some photos. I don't like it in landscape photos, just because all those are just spots of missing data. They're just really bright spots with no data. And when you have those like in the clouds and stuff, it just looks really messy and it looks really ugly, I think. And so I would go in and fill those in now. There's ways to do that. Maybe we'll do a tutorial on that at some point this year. But that's my only gripe on this photo, is just some of the blown out highlights just above the sun. And that's not too much effort to go in and fix those. But when I edited this photo, I don't know, I just kind of ignored them, I guess. So, but I really like this one. Love how it turned out. I actually had a few people buy this off of me for prints this year for like gifts and stuff. So I guess the people like it. So that's what matters. But yeah, definitely like this one. Okay, moving on. This is the following morning. So that last one I spent that morning at Bryce Canyon, and then drove down to Zion National Park. And then I camped just outside of Zion National Park for that next night, and I woke up to this. So I wasn't planning on shooting anything for sunrise. I didn't think we'd have anything. But when I woke up, I looked out my car window and I saw this massive cloud formation moving over the Pine Valley Mountains. And this thing's just insane. I am so lucky that I was able to see this. We've got this rain coming down. We've got the rainbow. This photo in itself isn't anything too crazy. Like there's it's kind of random if you think about it. But the reason I love it is because you can actually see my old, I don't know, kind of childhood home, I guess. I lived here. This is Tokerville, Utah, and I lived here when I was in high school. And you can actually see my old house in this photo, which is kind of cool. So it's kind of a sentimental thing. I can see, that one of the houses that I lived in when I was a kid, and I think it's just really cool. So it kind of takes me back to, growing up and living in this really cool place. And so that's kind of why it's one of my favorites. So, and then obviously you can't beat that cloud structure and that rainstorm, because that's just really, really cool. Okay, so moving on. So we have this photo from Glacier National Park. So I had the opportunity to go up to Glacier for the first time this year. So my wife and I went up there on our honeymoon in August. This is the first time either of us had ever been there. So I was really glad I was able to get a cool photo of this location. I got a bunch of cool photos there. Um, I found that when you show up to a location for the very first time, it's a little hard to get things that are really, really good, just because you still you haven't familiarized yourself with the area yet. And obviously, like, being on my honeymoon, I don't want to take too much time taking photos, but I was lucky enough to be able to capture this one, which is one of my favorites from the entire trip. So the glacier is just an incredible place. I'm so glad that I was able to get up there. I love the cloud conditions that we got. I love this mountain. I love all the greens and the blues and everything. It's an incredible place, and I think it's my favorite national park now. And yeah, I couldn't be happier with how this one turned out. So, okay, next up, right after that, I went up to central Idaho and did a backpacking trip through the Sawtooth Mountains. So you probably saw some videos on this on the Bushwhacker channel, but we took a group up to do backpacking up there, and we hiked up to this lake and spent the night there. I think it's about 6 miles. And this is one of my favorite photos from the year. It probably is actually my second favorite, but I just love how this photo turned out. We had crazy storm cloud conditions moving through that night. And as you can see in the sky, we had this wild sunset. And then I love this composition so much. It kind of, when we hiked past it the first time, it kind of stuck out like a sore thumb. And I saw it and I was like, I need to go back and shoot that photo for sunset. And went back, shot it, came out exactly as I imagined it would. I love how the log and that grass kind of form with kind of a triangle. You know, they're angled opposite from that mountain, so it almost, when you combine that log and the mountain, it almost forms kind of a triangle shape in the photo. And I think it's really cool. It kind of leads your eye in and then leads your eye out. It's got really good visual flow, and I love the colors. I love how moody it feels, and yeah, it's one of my favorite photos that I got this entire year. Like I said, I think it's my second one. My first favorite photo is at the end of the series here, but love this one. Okay, next. So I took this photo. If you remember watching the video I did where I tested that 40-year-old lens out, this is a photo that I got with that 40-year-old lens. So this was actually during fall time. And while it doesn't look like a fall photo, it kind of technically is. It looks more like a winter photo though, but we just had really cool stormy conditions and like foggy conditions moving through the Wasatch Range, and I was able to watch, capture this break, I guess, where we've got the fog on the bottom and then we have the storm clouds above, and then the sun was kind of beaming through and creating this gap in between where you can see Timpanogos through the middle, and I think it's really cool. I just think the framing is really, really neat. I love it. I love how moody it feels. I'm really impressed with how it turned out, actually, because it was shot with such an old lens. If you don't remember that video, it was a 100 to 300 millimeter lens from like 1987. Go watch the video. It's a fun video. But yeah, I'm really happy with how this one turned out. So one of my favorites from the year. Okay, moving on to probably my favorite photo from fall. So this was kind of a random photo that I took. I was up Big Cottonwood Canyon in the Salt Lake area, if you're familiar, and I was shooting I think it was a family photo session, and on my way back to my car, I was parked next to this little overlook where you can see into the river, and I saw this tree, and I was like, I gotta try to shoot this tree because this is way too cool. And I saw these rocks and stuff too, so I was like, I think there's something there. So I climbed down. Took me a little bit to set up this composition, but I love how it turned out. I love the exposure time that I set for the water. I think it works out perfectly. I think it was it's a 0.5 second exposure, and then I love how you have kind of these muted brown tones, and I love how those contrast with the really bright, vibrant oranges. Especially the ones that you get on that log and that leading line in the bottom of the photo, and then obviously with the glowy tree at the top. So I love this photo. It's one of my favorites of the entire year. It's a little different than things that I normally shoot, and I think it turned out really cool. Okay, so these next few photos, we camped outside these cool Badland hills down in Utah, and welcome the morning, got the drone up in the air and started taking some top-down images. And these are some of my favorite ones that I've got from this spot ever. And I've camped at this location several times, and I've never gotten anything quite like these before. So I have two of them here that I'm going to show. But this first one, I think it's really cool. I love the balance between like the bright warm reds and then those cooler blues. And then I like how the composition kind of frames with these like, I don't know, finger like looking formations. And I think it's just really cool. I like looking at this image, and again, it's one of my favorites from that I've ever gotten from this spot. And I think the favorite that I've ever gotten from this spot is this one, which isn't quite a top down one. It's more of an angle, and I think actually now that I'm looking at it, I think there's a little sun flare in there. I may have to go back through and remove that, but let me know if you can find it. But I love this one for a lot of the same reasons as that last one. I love that contrast and that transition from that really warm light into some of those cooler colors, especially in the shadows. I love just the colors in this thing in general. The reds and the blues and that orange light work so well together. And then obviously just, the patterns and everything are just really cool. It's just a really cool location. And I'm pumped with how this one turned out. But okay, this next one might feel a little weird. But we have a mud crack photo. I've never been one to shoot mud cracks, and I've never been one who's ever even been really excited about mud cracks. But we were hiking around, and I saw these really prominent cracks, and I was like, I need to take some photos of these because these are really cool. And so I did. And I don't know why, but I love how this one turned out. I posted this actually on Threads a while back, and I got a lot of comments about people talking about how it looks like brownies, and I agree, it kind of does. But in this one in particular, I really love how this goes from like these really small crumbly sections and kind of fades out into these bigger chunks. And then you have that white stripe down the middle. I think the colors are really cool. I think that those patterns are really neat. Again, I don't know why I love it so much, but I really do. I think it's really cool. And I don't know. Let me know what you think about it. I don't know what that white substance is. I think it's just kind of a film from water, but whatever it is, it's really neat. So, anyways, one of my favorites as far as like top-down textures go. I told you that I had kind of started doing more abstract stuff this year, and this is a example of that. But okay, second to last photo. I just think this one's really cool. I had kind of been wanting to shoot this spot for a long time, and I never really made an effort to get over there. And I finally did the end of October this year, and got this photo. I just think the colors work so well in this photo. You have so many blues and kind of indigos and purples and stuff. And then it's all contrasted with those those highlights, those really orange highlights. And I think it works really well. I think the composition's great. I think everything about this photo just works really, really well together. And it's one of my favorites of the entire year, despite not having anything really in the sky. So I love just the feeling that this image gives me. And I kind of think that maybe if it had something in the sky, it would take away from it a little bit. I don't know. One of my goals for this year is to go back and reshoot this, and either with some stars or just, some texture in the sky in general. So some clouds and whatnot. So I would say Milky Way, but this is north facing, and so we are not going to get any Milky Way here. But we can at least get some really cool stars. But this is there was a series of photos at the time that I was shooting this that I got, and there's so many different textures on the ground in this specific area. And so I was doing a lot of experimenting and whatnot. And I think this one just turned out the best in my opinion. So, and that takes us to our last image, which is I think my favorite of the entire year. So this one was kind of a long time coming. I'd been to this location many, many times over the last few years. It was actually the first spot that I ever went to when I was kind of first getting into photography on like a photo trip. It's the first spot I ever went to on a photo trip. I had seen this location on Instagram, and I was like, I need to go do this. And that's kind of when I was like, I don't know, hooked on photography, I guess. And so we went down here, found it, and I've had a lot of really cool experiences at this location. It means a lot to me. It's a really special place for me. And so to be able to find something that's new was really exciting for me, because every time I've ever gone here, except for the first time, I've always tried to find something that's a little bit more new and unique. If you know this location, you'll know that there's kind of one main shot that a lot of people take. It's a great photo. Don't get me wrong. It's a great composition, but everybody takes it, and it's kind of like, I don't know, the main photo. But I've wanted to get something new there for a long time. So I've spent a lot of time over the years wandering around and trying to figure out something that's new and unique. And I think this was probably my 8th or 9th time coming here. And I finally found this one. And I think it was just, the conditions were just right to be able to get those cracks. But yeah, I love how the composition is. I love the mood and the feeling in this. It just feels really gritty and, I don't know, almost prehistoric. And we had great clouds in the sky. And part of me feels like maybe the clouds are a little too messy. Creates a little bit too much complicated, just makes a lot of noise up at the top of the frame. But I think it's really cool. I think moving forward, if I were to re-edit this, I would probably tone down that glow a little bit. That's right where the sun was, and I think I would probably tone that down just into like where the sun is, I don't know, only, I guess, if that makes any sense. I feel like it's maybe just a little bit overdone. But other than that, I really love this image. Definitely one of my favorites of the entire year. No, it is my favorite of the entire year. So it's kind of the culmination of all of my experience and everything I've learned over the last few years in photography, all kind of put into one photo. So everything from composition to editing. This was a handheld focus stacked HDR photo. And it was a nightmare to edit. But I knew it had so much potential. So I was pretty excited about it when I took it. And then I'm even more excited about it now. So I love it. I think it's my favorite. No, I keep saying I think, but it is my favorite of the entire year. But yeah, so those are my favorite photos of 2023. So, and kind of some things that I want to improve on. Like I said, I want to try to work a little bit more on my composition and on my exposing skills. There was a few times this last year where I took some photos that I was really excited about in the field, and I got back and realized that I had messed up the exposure, or done like some dumb rookie mistakes like that. And so just kind of keeping an eye on some of those things and just, practicing more of those basic skills. Learning more about composition, and obviously improving my editing. So I have, I feel like, come a long way in terms of editing this year, even though I didn't get out as much as I would have liked. But I feel like I made some pretty good strides. So I'm one who likes to, I'm super, super passionate about like watching tutorial videos and reading blogs and just learning as much as I can about editing and photography and just all this stuff in general. So I consume it like a sponge. And so I'm really hoping just to continue doing that this year. One main thing that I really want to do for 2024 is to just get out and shoot more. I had a lot of stuff going on this year. I got married this year, which was, it was the greatest thing I've done in my entire life. But I also had a bunch of health complications as well. So I had all these different things going on, and I wasn't able to get out as much as I would have liked. I had several months where I didn't get out even once to shoot photos, and which is very unlike me. So I'm hoping that this next year that I can change that a little bit. So the health problems are starting to kind of go away, dealing with those, and hopefully here pretty soon they'll be gone and I'll be out back functioning at 100%. Yeah, I want to keep improving and just be the best landscape photographer that I can possibly be. So I love this craft. I love photography. I am so passionate about this whole process. It's one of the first times in my life I found something that I am so unbelievably passionate and excited about. And so I just want to do it the best that I possibly can. So yeah, that's my 2023, and I'm really excited about 2024. Like I said, some of these goal points for these goals are maybe just a little bit more abstract, like there's no specific goal point on improving my composition, for example, but it's something that I really want to do, and it's something that I want to keep striving to be better at. So let me know if you have any of those same goals, or if you want to do any of those same things for this year. So I think it's going to be a good year. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know what you think about any of the photos that you saw in this video. If you have any thoughts or opinions on any of these photos. So like I said, these are my favorite photos that I took this year. Maybe you've seen some of mine that you think are better. I don't know. Let me know if you think that there's some of my other ones that you think are better. But yeah, I hope you have a good one. Here's to 2024. It's going to be a great year. So thank you so much for watching. Bye.